next, before we get into the drama as here, there have been some players that have stepped up here overall. Chris mentioned Luke Shen. A lot of people have been high other than on Tucker Pullman, but forward-wise, Danila Klimovich has made an impression. Will Walkwood has made an impression. Nick Patan has made an impression. So the good side of all of that is the depth pieces that the Canucks have brought in are off to a good start.
And even long shot player Jonah Gadjevich is even impressed as well. So yeah, as far as depth, it definitely alleviates some concerns. What I'm like, even though it's being said that with Sutter's situation, it's not a fresh positive COVID case, I'm wondering if this is tied into the long-term COVID effects from when the team got infected last season.
It could be, and it is. I think we are seeing the effects of what Travis Green has tried to do with lineup-wise from that, and I hope Sutter gets better soon, because I think he's going to be a very good fourth-line option for them, especially up the middle, because they're very, very, and on the penalty kill, because I think that's a big question of who's going to be the penalty killers this year. But we're seeing different line combinations because of the players that aren't there.
In terms of the long-term impacts from last year's COVID outbreak on the team, I mean, that's definitely, something that could be lingering over the preseason here. And if that's the case, I mean, you can expect the organization is going to be super mum about that. And it's an organization that tends to have a lot of leaks out to the media, but that's one I'm sure that will be kept tightly guarded. So we'll have to just see how things unfold there. In regards to Hamonic, I do know Ian McIntyre. I don't know if others are reporting this too, but Ian McIntyre has been reporting that Hamonic's back in Manitoba, where he's from, for personal reasons. I know the Canucks PR Twitter account had indicated as well that Hamonic was away for personal reasons. So I'm led to believe that's something to do with his family, but we could spend all day speculating here.
Yeah, and I don't think that we need to, again, just with a lot of this, I don't think that I'm a little bit concerned about doing that just from my own speculation. It's none of our business. I'm kind of with Chris and everyone else on that. It's none of our business. They're not there, and let's give them that privacy and focus on the players that are there. And I guess kind of from that, in terms of preseason looks, who are we hoping to see a little bit more of, and a little bit that we want to see a little bit in the first half of this preseason anyway, in terms of these depth pieces?
Well, I think the big one for me, these three players aren't depth players, but they've been put together on a line, and that's Miller, Podkolzin, and Garland. Because with the Sutter issue, I think you need to try and extend your center depth, and that Miller can play center. So they've put together that line, and I'm very, very curious to see how that line does as things start to ramp up. I was talking with Chris Faber about this, and he said that he's he really likes how Garland plays. He protects the puck really well. And that he wants to see, and I think he wants to see them against sort of quote unquote real competition, like other teams and other teams' top lines as preseason goes forward. Because if that line can be something that can be, say, a line that they match up against the second or third lines, they could feast. That could be a real nice strength and bonus for the Canucks. But the key there is who's going to be the right winger on Bo Horvat's line. Right now it's Zach McEwen that has been given that opportunity throughout most of camp. But Danila Klimovich is a right shot guy that has shown very well. People are starting to be a little excited about that. I think he's a little raw. But does he get any looks in preseason? They brought in Alex Chase on. Does he get a look? Because he's shown that he can be he can pot some goals. What about a Nick Patan once Petey comes back? Do they? Because I think he's shown well as the placeholder for Pettersson between Höglander and Besser. Do they want him to be maybe the fourth line center and move Dickinson to the wing? Because I think I'm not expecting Sutter back anytime soon, because I think that you want to take your time figuring out what is actually the issue and what is causing the fatigue that has held him out of camp. So Klimovic, Patan, Chiasson, Gadjevich, McEwen, Lockwood, they're all players that I think need to give good shots and give them a look at maybe even as high as on Bo Horvat's wing.
Yeah, up front, Klimovic is the guy for me. I'm the most curious about. There seems, every day it seems like there's more and more discussion around this guy, and then if there's going to be some absences, can he push for a spot on opening night? I mean, I think the possibility is there. The path is there for him, so that's one to watch. And then, I just want to see how solid Jack Rathbone looks back on defense. I mean, I feel like there's there's going to be a lot of weight on that guy's shoulders if he's on the roster come opening night, and it looks like he will be. So, can he handle that? Last year was one thing, make a few appearances and kind of impress when the team's out of it. But now, the whole situation's a lot different now for him. There's big expectations now.
To actually touch on the defense, I've been reading a lot that Brad Hunt has actually impressed quite a few people during training camp. So even though I will admit that it's probably Rathbone's spot to lose, Hunt's definitely going to make competing for that third spot on the left side quite interesting. And yeah, it's definitely a two-person race now because Juolevi definitely did not impress during camp. Green even said as much.
Yeah.
And actually going back to long-term COVID, I wonder if that plays into that too. If maybe Ole potentially got hit worse than others.
Yeah. The one thing with that last left side D spot is how comfortable will Green be playing them on the PK, because you're not going to play Hughes on the PK full time. You can still play him a little bit, but you're still not going to play him full time. That's not his game. But then you've got OEL. Yeah, he'll play a lot on the PK, and then you've got the right side of Myers, Hominick when he comes back, as well as Tucker Poolman. Are you going to just have the OEL and the three right shot defensemen being on the PK? Are you going to be able to make that work, or do you want someone who is on that third pair that can penalty kill? That's the one spot where I think Juolevi might have an inside edge, because I don't know how much. Trying to look up how much PK time Brad Hunt has played and throughout his spotty NHL tweener NHL career, and we know that Rathbone is more of an offensive geared defenseman. So that's the one spot where I think it's, again, if Green feels comfortable with like Brad Hunt or giving Brad Hunt or Jack Rathbone at least some penalty kill minutes, that's huge, and that'll be a huge leg up for them that they may not need, but they definitely is going to be a big point for the Canucks coaching staff to try and figure out.
I wouldn't count Juolevi out of this just simply yet either. I mean, it's camp, and sometimes, and I'll say this with Klimovic as well. I know that everyone is intrigued by him, and I totally get it. I've watched him at the U18s. He's got some raw ability. There's no question he's got some skill, but I think for him to be on an NHL roster, I think I just don't see that as the best fit for him. Get him in games for sure, absolutely. But he needs to still develop. And as impressed as everyone is, it's still, I look back at that Belarus Canada game where, I thought Klimovic was a little bit of a step behind when the game got to that level. So I for me, the way I see it, I would wait a little bit on that. But even with Juolevi in training camp, just my whole point is even a slow start doesn't mean the end here. Rathbone, Hunt. I mean, I'm not counting him out. I mean, the odds are certainly against him, and there's a part of me that wonders if he just needs a new, fresh start somewhere else. But I still, let's see him in games. Let's see what happens in games, because sometimes some players are better, are not as good at practice as they are at games, and maybe that's it with Juolevi as well. Once he gets into the game flow, he's still going to be there. So I'm not counting him out just yet.